Air. I don't know what that means. Qubit. Don't care.
I have a small bit of confidence that the intro... Why is that so dark? Will play today.
Did you get invited to a data and AI tech immersion, blah, blah, blah? In
Real
Redmond?
excited about that one.
No, I'm not excited about it in the slightest. But see, I'm looking for an excuse to go out to the campus because I want to interview people. So maybe this is a good time to do that. The only problem I have is this is a 2-day event. And dear God, do I not want to listen to this bullshit for 2 days. Yeah. Wait a minute. What? Allison PR. Is that Samsung PR? I think it might be.
Well, it's embargo. Don't say it right now because everyone will.
It's not. No, it's not. They just contacted me about something. Galaxy Home? What's that?
Is that their smart speaker?
They're calling it Galaxy Home. God, fuck these people. I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Okay. Well, anyway, if this is Allison PR, or if Allison PR represents Samsung, I'm going to see if I can use this to my advantage. Could you please fire Jordan? I hate him. Sorry. How you doing? Yep. It's like this every day.
Just walking along, singing our songs. You know, it's incredible how many different YouTube accounts I can be logged into across the same browser.
Yep. Some of the preferences I have on those are kind of scary.
Well, it's like I just uploaded a video upstairs in Chrome, but I come down here and look at this one, and I'm on a different account. I don't understand. No.
Where is my phone? It's not here.
If only there was a way to make it ring.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, never mind.
Oh, what a day.
Yeah.
Trying to open the chat room sometime between now and...
I have a doctor's appointment this afternoon I'm really excited about.
Bet you are. All right, you ready?
That doesn't matter. That's your answer, Paul.
Just, you couldn't hold it in.
Sorry.
Just... I can't wait for you to go to Barcelona so I don't have to see your face for at least 24 hours.
You're going to be gone that long. You know.
It'll be
Yeah.
How's it going over there, Paul? Packed?
No, but we're leaving late on Saturday. You know, if we could have left today, we would have. But Norwegian doesn't even have flights on Friday to Barcelona for some reason. So Saturday it is. So no, there's no reason to pack now. It's still early.
Yeah, I've taken trips to New York longer than you're going to Barcelona.
Yeah, definitely.
How long of a flight is that?
It's listed at 7 something. It's probably 7 in the air, a little bit less.
Yeah.
Probably more on the way. I don't remember how it works. It's more on the way back.
14 hours in the air, 48 on the ground.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's the math works out. It's smart.
I'm sure the jet lag will just be peachy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, my wife's going to come along and she'll be walking around Barcelona by herself, enjoying herself. That would be nice for her. And then maybe at night I can do that. And she'll be like, I'm too tired. Why don't you just go by yourself?
Yeah.
We'll see. It's going to be fun.
Have some tapas.
Yeah.
Little tiny plates.
I like the little tiny plates.
Yeah. The last time we had that together, it was about 7,000 degrees in that restaurant, wherever that was. That was in Seattle. Was that a build last year?
No, that was a long time ago.
Was it?
That was years ago. You're right. It was in a too hot restaurant, like up on the second floor of that place.
Yeah, it must have been the first year that they had build in Seattle.
I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
It was hot. That's
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and I kind of ruined it. I was so excited, like, because it was a like a tapas restaurant. It was like, this is going to be amazing. Actually, you may recall, it's funny because I don't remember when it was or where it was, but the one thing I distinctly remember, and this made me really unhappy, they they made people, no, they actually had a seating chart, remember? And they kind of, it wasn't quite boy, girl, but it kind of was. And so you had to, the purpose of it was you have to sit next to people you don't know. And I was like, you know what? I already don't want to be here. And now you're doing this? It's like, seriously. So whoever it was sitting next to me, I remember saying, well, you can enjoy me sweating my ass off for the next hour and a half because it was like there wasn't a dot of air in the entire place.
I'm going to read you 2 tweets. Announcing Windows 10 Insider Preview build 18343. The next tweet is announcing Windows 10 Insider Preview build 18841.
Okay, so I'd have to guess, but one of them is probably the skip ahead thing, and then the other one is probably, remember the last release was only like certain Intel chipsets weren't going to work? I bet maybe they've added some chipsets or something.
Yeah, so 18343 is a 19H1 build. It says it fixed a connected standby issue that was blocking some PCs, so that takes care of that. And the other one is 8841, and this is another 20H1 build. Just a bunch of Windows Sandbox is now supported supports configuration files, and then a whole bunch of we fix stuff, and that's it.
Okay, yeah. So I am getting that 18343.1 build, which I didn't get whatever day that was, Thursday, Wednesday, whatever.
Yeah, so this should be about finishing that thing up, I would think here.
Yeah, but you know, I always say this. Like I remember last year, I was like, given the timing, I was probably. It could have been late July even, but certainly by August, I was like, oh yeah, they're wrapping this thing up. But actually, you know, it kind of goes on, you know.
It's the story that never ends.
Yes, that's for sure.
Yeah. Posted this up on on Netherot.com. Microsoft is going to talk about their next gen consoles at E3. That really shouldn't be a big surprise, but I got tips about it, and then people kept asking me, and so I wrote it up, and there you go.
I think it's notable for sure.
Yeah, it is notable, but at the same time, I was thinking this through, and it's like, well, they already talked about them at last year's E3. Remember they announced them? They announced Scarlet.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, obviously, there's more to be.
Right? No. They didn't actually talk specs or anything else like that. But for them to talk next gen, because the thing that was hanging me up and why I hadn't been writing, it's like, well, this is 18 months before they're going to launch. Why would they talk about it? But then.
What else are they going to talk about?
Well, to the point that I just said, they talked about them 36 months before they're going to launch. So
I think there will be more information. Obviously, that's probably the rationale there. The thing that first pops into my head is Sony this year is not going to E3. They gave all the, you know, obvious reasons why, and it makes sense, whatever. But the theory here is that they're going to have their own event to launch a PS5.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it seems like Microsoft might want to do something similar to that, but I guess they're not.
Yeah, well, who knows? They may not. I mean, they've got basically 2 major platforms to talk about, and they could talk about one or either. They could talk about the consoles, or they could talk about xCloud, or they could talk about both, or just give, you know, little details about each and save some of the bigger stuff for next year.
There's all those periphery stories, you know, Xbox Live on Switch, Xbox Game Pass. I guess it was Xbox Game Pass on Switch.
Yeah.
Xbox Live on mobile. You know, there's all this stuff going on. And so maybe if they could just frame what they're doing, because honestly, it's getting a little scattered at this point. You know, that alone would be kind of welcome. You know, so E3 is what, June? Yeah, June.
Yeah, like kind of early-ish June. Or middle June, I guess.
Gee, we should go to that. I keep threatening to go to E3. Of course, June is probably pretty busy.
Yeah, I would say let's get on a plane and do it, but prior to that, we're going to go to Seattle, to Miami, to Washington, D.C., and I'm also taking a vacation in there.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to the Netherlands in June, too. So it's possible there's 1 week free.
I've never been to E3. I would love to go. The problem is that time of the year is so incredibly busy with travel to smack another. Now, if E3 was in New York.
Yeah, but how about this? Now, it's too late for this, but what you could have done is booked your vacation in Los Angeles, gone to the beaches there, and then you could have just gone to E3 the one day.
Yes, that is a...
You know?
a possibility.
It is inconvenient. I do kind of wish they would move it between the coasts, every other year.
And it's not that I want to go to E3, and it's not that there's anything wrong with the beaches on the West Coast. They're quite nice, but
I've always wanted to go to E3. I've signed up for it. I've almost gone a couple times. I keep worrying that Microsoft at some point is going to be like, yeah, you're not invited anymore. You say you're going to go and you never go.
Yeah. The one thing you did mention briefly, which I think is worth pointing out. So Game Pass on Switch.
Right.
Microsoft wants Game Pass everywhere. That's no surprise there. I actually heard that they want to include them on the built-in TV apps that ship in the future.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yep.
Now, the thing that's missing from that statement of Game Pass on Switch is I think xCloud has to be working, because you can't run Halo on a Switch. Like it doesn't work.
They're not going to no. They're not porting AAA titles to other platforms.
Well, that's what sense. I think people are getting confused. They're like, oh, I'm going to be able to play Master Chief on my Switch on the airplane. Like, no, that's I don't think that's going to work, because
not until xCloud is a thing.
Right, which xCloud isn't going to be a thing until 2020. They're going to be public trials this year, but they're not going to do public trials on a Switch, I don't think. And so this is a ways out. People are thinking like, oh, they're going to announce this at E3. I would be very shocked if they did.
I mean, and no offense to the Switch, but honestly, you'd be better off running that on a smart TV than a Switch, because the Switch has a pretty low resolution, whereas a smart TV could run in 4K. It probably wouldn't be 4K for games, but 1080p certainly.
Yep. So we got the HoloLens 2. I'm going to be curious to see if they announce anything else alongside, because they're making a big deal about this, especially doing it on a Sunday at noon, which my wife is so happy about.
So, I mean, HoloLens is a lock, right?
It is.
There's no doubt about it. The question is if there's anything else. And me going to this in some ways is a bet, and it's probably a bad bet that there is going to be more than that. I always think back, I never went to the original Surface launch because they refused to say what it was. And they didn't tell me about it until 5 days or something. Yeah, it was really quick. It was close to the thing. And I was like, guys, it's like, no, you're going to want to be there. And I'm like, explain to me why. Like, what about this event's going to make me want to be there? It's like, we can't tell you. And it's like, you want me to fly to LA at the drop of a hat? And I'm like, I need to know more. And they wouldn't tell me. So I'm like, I'm not going. And I regret it a little bit. I mean, ultimately, the only thing I got out of it was I got to rag on people for claiming that they went hands-on with Surface, when in fact what they went hands-on with was an unworking prototype that was passed from person to person. But so I guess it wasn't ready, and going there would have been a lot like what I'm about to do, except a shorter flight. I don't know. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will see what happens. It'll be
otherwise topless. I got that going for me.
Yeah, it's a beautiful. Barcelona's a beautiful place.
And it looks like it's going to be nice now.
I was going to ask if you've checked the weather, because I've not. Well, I've
been 50s and 60s. Yeah. I've been there in the winter, and it's been cold. And in fact, if you go to Madrid in the winter, it can be like ice cold, like with snow. I mean, like really cold. But it looks like I should look again. But so far, the times I've looked, I mean, the weather looks like it's going to be great. So just walking around and going to places, to eat and drink and stuff will be good.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. There's other things going on. We got these new Windows 10 builds dropping. We got Google reportedly going to launch their streaming service with hardware.
With hardware, yeah.
Yeah, that's the interesting one.
Google. It's funny. I just wrote a thing up about Microsoft's competitors, and the one thing that's been consistent about Google over time is there's nothing that Microsoft does that they won't compete with. It's almost like they just have someone watching Microsoft and say, they're doing something, let's do that, So it's kind of interesting that they never did a gaming console, right? But now it looks like they're finally getting into gaming in a big way beyond Android, obviously. But a lot of what they do is just like, what is Microsoft doing? Oh, let's do that. We'll do G Suite instead of Office 365, Gmail instead of, Hotmail or whatever. I mean, there's a list a mile long of that kind of stuff. So I think the thing with gaming right now is that you are going to need infrastructure for this to work in the future. And when you start talking about that kind of thing, it shortens the list, and Google is one of the companies that has all the pieces you would need to make that successful. And gaming is big business, as we've discussed. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but it's it's a little strange still. I guess
The,
we'll see
the
what
one
happens.
thing I think Google is missing, though, is IP, because Microsoft has shown very well that you can have a great device, but if you don't have any games on it
Yeah.
that are unique,
Yeah.
it's
It's a sore spot. I mean, I personally take exception to that argument in some ways. But fair enough. It certainly is an argument. Google will have to partner with other companies. And that's
mhm,
the thing. If you think about Google in gaming and Google as a service to deliver games, in many ways, they're playing the role that Microsoft plays with retail, which is that you've got a bunch of people that just don't want to work with Amazon in that case, and they want an alternative. And Google might provide an alternative to some of the big players because, if you're an EA or an Activision or one of the tier 2 players, I guess you could do your own thing,
mhm.
but that nobody kind of really wants that. You have to deal with the big players, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo. Those guys all have their own services too.
Yep.
And so today there's a weird thing, like you can get EA access, but you also have to have Xbox Live,
Mhm.
if you want to play it on the Xbox, and that's kind of a terrible situation. You also don't want to tie yourself to one of your platform makers because they compete with your other platform makers, and you don't want bad vibes there. So maybe Google could be like, look, we're agnostic. I mean,
Mhm.
and they're going to work. It'll be an open standard and blah blah blah, whatever. So there might be some advantages to it.
Yeah, I think the biggest loser in all of this stuff is going to be Steam.
Yeah, suddenly it
They're
does
the
appear.
ones
Yeah,
who obviously dominated for a very
yeah,
while with a game store, and
hmm
they're not going to go out of business or anything, but they're going to be the ones who are feeling the heat from this because for them to go spin up a streaming platform to allow that would be significant.
they are very much tied to the PC, and so
Yeah.
in some ways, Steam's fortunes are tied to those of the PC, and the PC is not today the major gaming platform really.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think there'll always be a thing on PC. I mean, Steam is obviously a big deal in that world. But yeah, you're not going to Steam on Xbox, Steam on PlayStation, Steam on Nintendo, Steam on mobile. Not really.
Yeah. We'll see a lot of gaming news. I guess that kind of makes sense. We got GDC coming up in about
Yep.
3-ish weeks, something like that.
Yep.
And so that'll be that should be a good time.
The world is changing so fast. Like it kind of makes my head spin sometime. Like you were just talking about the Google thing at GDC, and I was like thinking to myself, like the very notion of Google at GDC is like still kind of foreign.
Yeah,
It's like
I agree.
really like, I mean, obviously they make Android, and obviously Android is whatever kind of platform it is for games. A lot of people must play games on Android, and it's weird. It's weird. I don't know how else to say it. It's weird. Like Microsoft embracing open source is weird. Like it's kind of the new normal. I don't know why it's so.
Mhm.
It's not offensive, but it's like it's just so different from what the world was.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that the two biggest gaming competitors that might be coming out of this are Google and Amazon. I mean,
I know,
they weren't
it's
even
like,
a
what?
thing last gen, really.
Yeah, they weren't a thing ever.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, I don't know. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. There's also a new GPU out, which I'm slightly tempted by. It's the GTX 1660 Ti from NVIDIA. It's less than $300.
There's
Basically-
only one thing I don't like about NVIDIA, and
Them?
it's that stupid software that you have to update every 3 days that is always in your face. It never happens automatically. You always have to deal with it. It takes forever to do the thing.
It does.
And then you pretty much are going to want to reboot because your display flickers during the upgrade and all your wraps get screwed up. And it's you get a laptop in particular that has like, NVIDIA graphics. And you're like, this is going to be great. And then you have to deal with that. And you're like, seriously, can I just have like integrated graphics again? I can't, it's just terrible. I know that's a stupid thing to complain about, but
But here we are.
all right.
And as people point out in the comments here, Google's past history for axing products and services makes you a little weary about them getting into the game streaming platform because it's the cool kid on the block right now for them until it's not. And then they get rid of it.
So Google comes under a lot of fire for that kind of stuff, right? Apps and services like Google Reader is one that really bit me in the ass. Obviously, they're getting rid of Inbox. It really bothers me. But that said, I'd kind of like to see someone, and it's not going to be me because this would require a lot of work, and let's face it, I'm lazy. But someone do some kind of, some kind of a comparison between like just Google and Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
Sheer number of products and services killed over some time period, and then do it as a percentage of the total number of offerings that company has, and what is it really, or even I don't know how you would find this out exactly, but like if you could somehow figure out like the user base impacted, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my point here is that, and maybe this is just because I follow Microsoft a lot more closely than I do Google. I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft and Google were kind of neck and neck in that competition, really.
Yeah.
They're, depending on the day, I mean, they're both pretty aggressive about getting rid of things that aren't making sense for them, And unfortunately, when you do that, you do strand users. But we have examples of that in the Microsoft side, Media Center, Zune, Windows Phone, Cortana, basically. It's happened a lot. And so you make a bet on this stuff, and then it ends up, betraying you in the end, and you have to figure something else out.
Yep, and the last thing on the agenda is Windows Lite, this name of Santorini.
Yeah, maybe I'm a little tired of these. Yeah, Santorini. Yeah.
Yes. I've got some more information.
Like an Italian skier from the 1800s or something. What is this name?
I don't know. All I can think about is Italian food when I hear that name. Go get
like a restaurant name. We're going to Santorini's on Friday night. They have free breadsticks or whatever.
It's the dipping sauce that gets you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, I've got some more information on it that hasn't been written up yet, and that'll come next week once I get time to kind of polish it up. And
it seems like there's been a flurry of code names and around both the OS itself and then the devices that are going to run on it, right? Because obviously there'll be laptop type devices, but also dual screen devices and everything. And this makes me think of something Mary Jo said, which was that Microsoft is apparently providing multiple code names for projects now, specifically so they can see where leaks are coming from, right? And so this Santorini thing, it's possible that it has one or more other code names, and that the fact that that is the name that leaked helps Microsoft understand perhaps where that leak came from.
Yeah, it does refer to Windows. So there's multiple components, which is also making this confusing. There's Windows Core OS, which is a Core OS, and then what they basically are doing is dropping shells on top of it. And so then there's what we know as Windows Lite, and then there's this Santorini, which I believe also refers to Windows Lite.
Okay.
You could
this
use
is the Chromebook-like thing?
Yeah, it very much is.
Yep.
Very, very much is, and we're going to see that at Build this year. So.
Oh, we are? Is that true?
I'm pretty sure of this.
Yeah, I hope so. That alone would make Build worth going to.
Let me put it this way, Paul. If they don't stand up on stage and show it off, I will.
Nice. Okay. I will remind you of that. Now appearing in room 435 unofficially is Brad Sams.
Yeah.
I hope they do, because obviously there are going to be those things where you're kind of serving the base, right? There's going to be improvements and enhancements to existing developer technologies and blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. I mean, that happens every year. There'll be yet another database. I'm sure it's Microsoft. They love releasing databases.
Yep.
But yeah, but this is important. And this is something Microsoft has not effectively addressed yet, although they've tried, right? With Windows RT, with Windows 10s and S mode. And I want to see it. I want to see, more of it, I guess is the way I should say it. But I mean, I want to see what it really is, what it's become, and have an understanding of, how it compares to Chrome OS, how it compares to Windows proper, what the point is, what the strategy is, why this is better than before.
Yep.
Because so far it's like, I don't quite, it seems like another effort to do the same thing I've been trying to do for a long time.
Yeah. And yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. It's the biggest difference, I think, is that it's not going to look exactly like Windows 10.
Which is smart. I mean, this is the mistake they made with RT first, right? You make something that looks like Windows, people have expectations. And when those expectations aren't met, that's when the complaining starts. And that's been a problem with 10s and S mode. It was a huge problem with RT. And I don't like the one-way dead-end street stuff they did with Windows 10s. I mean, you know, someone today, or, you know, when the Ask Paul thing was asking about componentization or, you know, containers and so forth, and why can't we have a modern platform that runs legacy code in some kind of a sandbox situation for backwards compatibility? And yes, that's an excellent question. I don't know why. I think the reason we haven't had it yet is because, in turn, Microsoft was trying to push more modern app platforms and this system, and hoping that it would just kind of happen, which in ignoring like the existing user base of desktop apps, and how important that is to people. So I'd like to see a common sense solution, you know, and you know, like I keep saying, we'll see, but
yeah,
I hope they talk about this stuff at Build. That would make Build truly exciting.
I hope they do too, because while this is starting as Windows Lite, and it's starting for this kind of like Chromebook thing, I think the ambitions here are significantly larger than just putting out a Chrome OS competitor.
Yeah, and the rationale there is the same. You know, back when RT was kind of first announced, I wrote an article at the time for Windows IT Pro where I said this could be the next NT, right? The notion being that if this platform succeeds, they will have created something called Windows that has nothing to do with the Windows that came before. And that's what NT was. And of course, NT took over Windows. It became Windows, starting with Windows XP. So this could be the same thing. This could be that again, because of course, you know, they're trying to do the same thing. But of course, this time they might not even call it Windows, I guess, which also might not be such a horrible idea, frankly. Yeah. Getting rid of that. And maybe this is how they move past Windows, you know, that Windows becomes what it kind of is already, which is just a platform for everyone hates the word legacy, but basically for legacy applications.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even legacy applications plus modern applications, whereas the new thing would just be modern applications.
I'm curious. This is nothing. We're just going to move it on here because my computer keeps throwing up a high CPU warning, and I'm wondering if it's because I'm streaming to two different platforms. If that about maxes out the CPU because it's going to YouTube and Facebook.
Yep. Yeah, you should be able to do that. You should talk to Andrew about this. I think Andrew does multiple.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Streams.
You know.
What is this computer you're using?
6700K i7, 16 gigs of RAM, NVIDIA 1080. And it's not like it's a low-end machine, but.
Yep, it might be for this.
Yeah, it very well could be. So. Yep. All right, you got anything else for today, Paul, before you sail off into the wild blue yonder?
No, not really. I've got an appointment this afternoon, so I'll be out for part of that. And then, I got to get ready and everything. So I'm pretty much just looking
Friday
forward
afternoon.
Sitting in a can, flying over the ocean. It'll be great. How about you?
Sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm just going to be basically counting down the hours until noon on Sunday and then watch that live stream and see what comes out of the HoloLens debacle.
It better be good, man. I swear to God, it's going to be a meltdown moment in the room if this is not good. So I think it's
if Satya's going and Alex is going, it's going to be good. But I'm going to share a story because I know Paul was a part of this. So was Mary Jo. I think this was when Build used to still be at Moscone in San Francisco. And they were doing Lumia stuff. And they said, hey, there's a Nokia event, and we had to walk to it. And it was like across San Francisco. It was like a 30-minute walk, and it was not very nice out. I think it was hot, maybe. Yeah. And we get all the way over to this event, and what they announced was a Bluetooth speaker.
Oh, that's amazing. I've done this walk. I know exactly what you're talking about because Nokia always used the same.
Yep.
I might have done the same walk. I might not just have been with you too. Yeah. Okay. But it was hotter than hell. That's exactly what it was. I think the only good news to that day is we had a meetup that was kind of in that neighborhood. So after it was over, we were at least in the right part of the city. But yeah, you're right. It was a completely different part of the city. It's over by the highway, kind of like the highway was up above.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
So. All right, folks, well, that wraps it up for today. Hopefully you had a wonderful week. Next week should be interesting. I'm guessing that there's probably not going to be a podcast on Monday because Paul will be out, but we will figure something out. And have yourselves a good weekend, and we'll be curious to see what Microsoft announces on Sunday. Oh, there was no sound there. Son of a...
since I am going to be in Barcelona, I would be open to doing like a 5-10 minutes something just out on the street. Maybe I can go someplace cool looking or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't even think about. I don't know why I was.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, you never know.
Under promise, over deliver is much better than promise and not deliver.
That's right. That's right. Soliciting prostitution.
Yeah, did you see
words
that?
I do not want to see associated with my favorite football team.
Mr. Kraft apparently paying Brady a lot of money, and apparently some other people too.
Oh well.
We'll see what comes out of the court. He's been
you want
charged
to see my
with
rings,
it. He has
baby?
not been formally accused of it, so there is a difference there. But
sure. Well, maybe he could be suspended for a couple of games the next season. That's always worked out well for the league.
Paul, if this is what takes down the Patriots, I'm all about it.
Wow. All right.
Fine. All right, later.
Bye.